Hello everyone and welcome to a new video on the channel. Today we are wrapping up the month of November in my reading journals, and I cannot believe we're at this point already that this is the second to last wrap up in this journal, and well, in both journals, and that means we're so close to our final flip through and looking at all the stats and what I did over the year of 2025, which I'm really excited to get into. And I have been working really hard behind the scenes to try and get everything lined up so we can get straight into those wrap ups as soon as possible, as soon as the year's out. Trying really hard to make sure that I'm set up for it as much as possible, because as you must know, or you might not know, but if you are someone who likes to wrap up things at the end of the year, it always feels very intimidating if you don't have a plan in place. There is so much to look at and do, and especially when you're a bullet journaler, I feel like we're always doing so much in our journals and then not necessarily leaving it to the last minute, but there's things that you can't fill in until the year is out, so it feels very like the pressure is on. Thankfully, I am at a point now in my setups for 2026 that I have completed both my initial pages in my main 2026 journal, so these types of pages that you're seeing me fill in right now, and the reading data journal is done. I still have to do my January setup. However, I don't need to show that in the flip through, so that will be coming very soon, as well as the reading data journal setup. Of course, if you are new here, you may not know, but I have a dog. Her name's Octavia, and as soon as I start talking to myself or making a narration for any video, she goes and finds the squeakiest of toys and starts squeaking them in the background. So if you can hear that, that's her just saying hello to everyone, because she can't be left out as well. So I was filling in my Days Red Pixel. If you've been around for a while now, you know I love that, but I was unfortunately zoomed in a little bit too much. Otherwise, the rest of the challenges had no real updates to be put in. Like I said at the start of the video, we will be doing a end of year flip through, so when we get to that, I will talk about how those challenges went, and if you're interested in that, make sure that if you're not already, that you're subscribed to the channel, because those videos are definitely coming. Now we've moved into November and just filling in some extra bits and pieces here that needed to be sort of wrapped up. And for November, I did 2 readathons, and I decided to make this little bookmark where I could jot down the books that I read. And so I printed out little tiny covers for them for the prompts that I managed to complete, and ended up really enjoying this process. It was a little bit more extra. There was a lot more effort into the wrap up sort of side, but I really like how this came together, and it's kind of like a cute keepsake, because now I know what books I read for what prompts, and it was really helpful because I'm also doing Clear Your Shit in December, because it's a 2-month long readathon, so whatever I didn't finish in November I can continue over into December. And setting it up like this helped me see what prompts I hadn't finished. I could have probably done a couple more prompts, but I figured that I'd just leave them for December, because I know that I'm going to be reading a few books over the last month of 2025. So yeah, I just left it as is, but I did end up reading a total of 15 books over November, and it was a really good month for 5-star and 4.5-star reads. I had 3 5-star reads, and I think I also had 3 or maybe 2 4.5-star reads, which is huge for me, because normally I hardly ever give out 4.5 stars. I'm either in the 5-star or 4-star camp, but there were some books that I really enjoyed, but just had little minor things that made me go, actually, I might just give that 4.5. And yeah, really good month for that. But there was also some really disappointing reads, and it was a bit of a mixed bag that way. Once again, I had the sort of I had this happen earlier in the year where I read The Night and the Moth, and it was such a good book, gave it 5 stars, and then the very next book I picked up, I gave it 2 stars, and it was my first 2-star of the year. While it happened again in November, I gave a 5-star to The Rebel and the Rose by Catherine Doyle, and it ended up being my top read of the month. and then the very next book after it was some kind of famous by Ava Wilder, and I absolutely hated it. So I gave it 2 stars. So it was interesting to see that play out again, and seeing how I could be really enjoying books, and then the very next moment I'm really like not enjoying that book at all. So it was a very interesting month, and again it's happening a little bit in December as well, where I am finding books that I'm really enjoying, and then instantly afterwards the books that I read are just not it. And so I'm wondering if it's like almost like slump material, where you just really enjoyed that book so much that anything that comes after it is just not going to do well. But I still stand by those ratings and my feelings on those books. So if you are interested in finding out a little bit more about what I've rated books this year, you can check out my Goodreads or Storygraph links in the description, or you can stay tuned for hopefully my very first appearance on video. I'm trying to gear myself up for starring in a video here on YouTube. It's been a slow progression of something that I've been doing over on Instagram, trying to feel a bit more confident in front of the camera to eventually show myself on camera here. I know I don't need to, but it would be nice to connect with you guys and put a face to the channel, I guess. And I'm going to be doing a sort of like a 2025 wrap up on the books that I really enjoyed. I'll try not to get into the ones that I don't enjoy. I always find that I have a lot to say about those. Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But I'm really excited to be sharing my top reads of the year with you all very soon. So the 2 readathons now are almost completed. I just wanted to highlight the prompts that I did on the NetGalley November. And some of the prompts weren't just reading a book, it was like to apply for an ALC or something like that. So it was really fun to do that. And now we're on to the reading log, which is one of my favorite things to fill in every month on camera for you all. And this time round, you get all the footage. I think it was last month or the month before where I accidentally didn't film, or I cut a portion, you couldn't see it all. It was very choppy, and so I'm really glad that the month of November is complete. You can see everything going down, and I can reuse this footage for an Instagram reel if I really wanted to, because I really do enjoy sharing them over there as well. Just a bite size of how these pages end up getting wrapped up. So as you can see, this is the first 12 books that I read, and you can see a variety of ratings on the page by the colour that I've given each star rating. And then here are the final 3. And yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of the books, and my longest read book was Wild Reverence. It took me so long to finish that book. I started it in September, but I've had so many back-to-back arcs that I always felt guilty for taking the time to step into that world. So I'm really glad that it still ended up being a 5-star read, because I felt like I sort of dragged it out a bit and couldn't spend as much time in the book as I wanted to. Another 5-star read I had was Eternal Ruin by Tigers Germa. This book was fantastic, and I listened to the audiobook of it. I was kindly given 2 ALCs this month, so Eternal Ruin and also The House of Fear by Marissa Mayer. I listened to both of those, and they were both arcs for me. I also had a lot of arcs this month that I got through, which I'm really pleased, because I might have mentioned on the channel before, but I'm really behind in my arcs, and that's not normally me. But I got sick earlier in the year, and my chronic fatigue just meant I couldn't keep up with it all. So I'm finally at the point now, I think I only have 2 outstanding arcs, and then there's one that's creeping up that will be due next week. So hopefully I can get through at least 1, maybe 2 by that time, and then quickly catch up, because it's the only one due in December. And then I can sort of hit the ground running for January reads. I do have a lot of arcs still. I really need to stop applying for them, but I really enjoy the process of applying and being approved. I think everyone does. So we're now into the reading data journal now that November is wrapped up, and I am just finally sticking down this blank page in my journal. I've really had no idea what to do with it, because it's, as you can see, it's that broken page that it came like this. So I decided I'd finally put it together and no longer have to look at it every month. And I also, if you saw just before, I also finally filled in my physical TBR, or the books on my shelf. That page was meant to be filled in at the start of 2025 and I never did it. So recently I spent some time going through my shelves and using my scanner to play Librarian and getting it all into my database online, so then I could look at what books I had and how I needed to color code them in this journal. I had such a good time doing that, and I must admit, now that it's in there, I'm really pleased with it. But it's also in alphabetical order and by genre at the moment, and I can just imagine once I start adding in new books, it's going to get very out of order. But that's just the nature of that setup. We're now into the 2025 portion of my reading data journal, and we're working on the glanced page, or a year at a glance, and I will be not carrying this over into 2026, which feels kind of weird. I've done it for years now, but I just don't feel like it's serving me anymore. So essentially you just write out the books that you read, and then you can use whatever sort of color code system. I use their star ratings and the day that I finished the book. Some books I finished on the same day, so they will not be showing up as on the calendar because I just do the first book that lands on that particular day. On this particular session, I kept going off screen, so I do apologize that there's a little bit of footage here and there where you can't see exactly what I'm doing. It's really unfortunate, but I just didn't notice it often enough. I'm normally like quite aware of where I am, and I'm trying really hard to make sure to look up to make sure that everything is in frame. But this day I had a really good audiobook on and I was just flying through it, and then I kept looking up and going, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not on frame. So I think it's only a couple of times, but it was worth mentioning that this was an accident. Moving on into the rereads and DNFs. I did DNF 2 books over November, and they were both ARCs, which is not something that I like to promote, but I'm also now in a mindset that I'm not prepared to read ARCs that I'm not comfortable with, or there's something about the book that I'm just not vibing with, so I will not put myself through reading that just because I signed up for an obligation. I think it would be in better interest for the author and myself to not have to document a 1-star rating and just a DNF instead. And for a couple of for both these books, they are either indie or newcomers, so I decided that it would just be easier to DNF them and not put a review up for them at all. And yeah, that's something I'm going to continue in 2026, because having chronic fatigue makes you very aware of where you should be putting your energy, and I'm not going to put it into books that I'm not enjoying. So whether it's an ARC or not, I will DNF. We're now on to the books by section. So we've just done books by rating. We're now on books by genre. I do make a mistake on this page, but I show you how I fix it. I had marked down Eternal Ruin on my trackers as paranormal because it's vampires. It's a paranormal fantasy or romantasy, whichever one you really want to call it. But I feel like the storyline could balance out without the romance and still be really interesting. It's very political. I love this series. It's so good. I almost DNF'd the first book. It's so unhinged, and yet now I'm like obsessed with it. And so I ended up marking it as romantasy by accident. So I just go in now and cover it up with some sticker paper and recolor it for paranormal. Yeah, that's something that was just bothering me a little bit. So I thought, no, I'm not going to leave it as romantasy. I've marked it as paranormal. So let's carry that through. I've also been trying to be a bit more aware of what I class as romantasy, fantasy. It's really quite challenging because a lot of books that I read do have romance in them, whether or not they're the subplot or not. And I'm trying really hard to be like, could this story stand without the romance in it? Is the romance leading the story? That's the best way that I can sort of decipher between the two, because it's very quite, I would say the lines are quite blurred at this point. Some books like Quicksilver, and I'm currently listening to Brimstone, so that's why it came to mind. Very obvious that they're romanticy, that they could not survive at all without the romantic elements of the storyline. And then there's other books where, you know, the romance is quite a subplot. I found it really interesting that Emily Wilde, book number 3, Compendium of Lost Tales, was in the romanticy section of the Goodreads awards, which I won't even get into because I'm still, the representation of marginalized groups was just not there. Once again, it was very white. But I found it really weird it was in romanticy when, yes, the romance is now established very well into that series, and it is a core part of that storyline, but I would not class it as a true romanticy. It's definitely more cozy fantasy in my opinion. So it's just interesting to see where the lines blur, even in like a setting like that, where some books don't belong in that category at all. But that's another conversation for another video. We're now out of the books by section and into reading goals page. I think I marked off that I've completed 80 books off my shelves, and then I just put down my social media tracker. And now we're on the stats omnibus page, and it was really good to see how these stats came together for the month of November. There were quite a good amount of numbers that I was really pleased with. And like I said at the start of this video, I read quite a few good books, even though there were a few misses as well. And that's why my rating's a little bit lower, like my average for the month is a little bit lower. But I'm really pleased with what I managed to get done in November, and I'm just continuously thinking about the books I really enjoyed. So as you can see, these are the last 2 pages. We've done the library savings. I did end up reading, I think, 5 books from the library, and then I read 8 arcs over, or 8 arcs and ALCs over November. And it was really nice to see that I received 8 and then I read 8. So not the same books, but, you know, it was good to see that it was at least balanced out a little bit. So as you can see, the November stats page is already set up. I did a whole bunch of setting up off camera for November. I've got a November title, December's title, quarter 4 stats title, all in place. And then I started filling in what I could, just to make things a little bit easier on me, because like I mentioned, I've been doing a lot of journaling recently, and I wanted to make it as streamlined as possible coming into this video. So let's talk about stats. I read a total of 15 books that equated to 6,262 pages. My average was 3.9. I listened to 49.6 hours of audiobooks. I read 8 arcs. I DNF'd 2 books. I got 6 new books. I hired 5 from the library. 8 books were part of a series. 7 were standalones. I participated in 2 readathons, 1 book club, 1 buddy read, and I had 1 reread. My genres read were 1 romance, 2 paranormal, 6 fantasy, and 7 romanticy. Star ratings, I had 3 5-star ratings, 3 4.5 star ratings, 4 4-star ratings, so really good numbers. Then 2 3.5 star ratings, 1 3-star, 1 2.5 star, and 1 2-star. I acquired most of my books from NetGalley because, like I mentioned, a lot of them were arcs. Otherwise, the library was really handy, and you'll see that I've put a whole bunch of stars, and that's because I read a lot of books that crossed over, whether or not I used Spotify to listen and then had an owned book, or I used the library to listen to a book, but I also had the ebook or something like that. It all sort of flowed like that and crossed over so much that I had to put stars for every single category. And now that page is done. So we are finally moving into the flip through of both the reading data journal and my main 2025 journal. So here we are at the start of the 2025 section in my reading data journal. I'm so glad with how this is coming together, and I have made changes for 2026, which I know I keep talking about, teasing you a little bit. That video will be coming very soon. I'm completely up to date with it now, so all I need to do is edit it. There's a lot of footage, and then after that I will do the flip through. So for those people who don't want to sit there and watch it being set up, you can sit with me while I talk through my pages that I've decided to use over 2026. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the new year and trialing new ideas out in both my journals. And here we are moving into my main 2025 reading journal for the Demons theme. I'm so glad that I tried something different for the month of November because this is very out of my comfort zone, but I'm glad with how it all came together. It's looking really good. So until we next meet, I hope you have fun reading or journaling. I hope you've enjoyed this little look into how I wrap up a month in my reading journal, and I will see you in another video very, very soon. I have a few to share, and hopefully I can get them all up before the new year is out. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Bye everyone.